Tonight, we journey to the highlands of Ethiopia, where ancient traditions whisper secrets through mountain mist, and you'll discover how a celebration older than most civilizations still echoes through stone churches carved from living rock. You'll uncover the hidden stories behind Ganna, Ethiopia's Christmas that begins not with December snow, but with frankincense smoke rising toward African stars. So settle in, breathe deeply, and let these timeless tales gently carry you into peaceful dreams as we explore together. As we begin this restful journey together, let your body sink deeper into your pillow. Allow your breathing to slow and feel the gentle weight of sleep beginning to settle over you. If you love stories that carry you peacefully into dreams, consider subscribing to Sleepy Holidays, where cultural treasures become your nightly companions. Now, close your eyes, let your muscles completely relax, and prepare to drift away on the gentle, soothing currents of this ancient Ethiopian tale. Chapter 1: The Dawning of Ganna. Beneath the soft hues of an Ethiopian sunrise, we gently step through the doorway of time itself into a celebration that has blessed the highlands for centuries. The word Ganna flows like honey from the ancient Ge'ez language, carrying within its syllables the prayers of countless generations. As the first light touches the mountain peaks, the air itself seems to shimmer with anticipation, for this is no ordinary dawn. This is the beginning of Ethiopia's most sacred season. The origins of this holy celebration stretch back through the mists of time, woven deep into the fabric of Ethiopia's Orthodox Christian heritage. Long before the world knew other Christmas traditions, the people of these highlands were gathering in reverence, their voices lifting in ancient hymns that seemed to echo from the very stones beneath their feet. The morning light grows stronger now, painting the landscape in shades of gold and amber, as if the earth itself is preparing for something magnificent. Through the narrow streets of mountain villages, excitement moves like a gentle river, flowing from house to house, carrying with it the whispered promises of celebration. Children peer through doorways with eyes bright as stars, while their elders move with purposeful grace, each step measured, each gesture carrying the weight of tradition. The air thrums with a quiet energy, a sense that something ancient and beautiful is about to unfold, like a flower opening to the morning sun. In the hushed conversations that ripple through the streets, you can hear the mingled voices of anticipation and claimed serenity. Neighbors greet each other with gentle nods, their words soft as silk, speaking of preparations and prayers, of fasting that purifies the soul, and feasting that nourishes the spirit. There is a sacred rhythm to these exchanges, a dance of community that has been perfected over countless generations, where every greeting carries blessings and every farewell holds promises of reunion. As our eyes slowly adjust to the radiant glow of the sunrise, a breathtaking sight emerges from the Ethiopian landscape. Rising from the earth like dreams made stone, the legendary rock-hewn churches of Lalibela stand in silent majesty, their ancient walls carved not upon the ground, but deep into the living rock itself. These sacred monuments, hewn by faith and devotion, seem to pulse with an inner light, as if they too are awakening to welcome the celebration of Ganna. Each church tells a story written in stone, chapters of faith carved by hands, guided by divine inspiration. The morning light dances across their surfaces, revealing intricate patterns and sacred symbols that have watched over pilgrims for nearly 1,000 years. Within these hallowed spaces, preparations are already beginning, ancient rituals awakening like flowers after rain, as priests move in silent reverence, their footsteps echoing softly through chambers that have held the prayers of centuries. The mood begins to shift now, like the gentle turn of a tide, from the bright immediacy of dawn to something deeper, more tranquil, more profound. The bustling energy of preparation gives way to a sacred stillness, as if the entire landscape is holding its breath in reverence. This is the moment when anticipation transforms into meditation, when excitement settles into the peaceful depths of the soul, where true celebration begins, not with noise, but with the profound silence of gratitude. Through this sacred quiet, the first wisps of frankincense begin their ancient dance, curling upward from hidden corners and sacred spaces, carrying with them the prayers of the faithful. This precious resin, harvested from the thorny boswellia trees, has blessed Ethiopian worship for millennia, its sweet ethereal scent serving as a bridge between earth and heaven, between the human heart and the divine mystery, between the everyday world and the realm of the sacred. The morning frankincense wafts gently through the narrow streets, weaving itself into the fabric of the dawn like invisible threads of gold. Each tendril carries stories, memories, hopes, and ancient prayers that have been offered up for generations beyond counting. The scent mingles with the breath of the faithful, becomes one with the rhythm of their heartbeats, transforms the very air into something sacred, something that speaks of mysteries too beautiful for words, too profound for anything but reverent silence. This sacred smoke mingles now with the crisp mountain air, creating an atmosphere that seems to shimmer with invisible blessings. The highlands of Ethiopia breathe deeply, their ancient peaks serving as silent witnesses to this timeless ritual. Here, in air so pure it seems to sing, the frankincense finds its perfect home, rising ever upward on currents of faith and devotion, carrying with it the collective prayers of a people whose roots run deeper than memory, whose traditions flow like underground rivers through time itself. The mountain air carries more than fragrance, it carries the whispers of history itself, the accumulated wisdom of countless celebrations, the echoes of ancient hymns that have blessed these highlands since time beyond remembering. Each breath draws in not just oxygen, but the essence of tradition, the spirit of a faith that has endured through centuries of change, remaining as constant as the mountains themselves, as enduring as the rocks from which the sacred churches were carved. As this first chapter draws to its gentle close, the stage is set for the festive days that lie ahead like unopened gifts. The sunrise has completed its daily miracle, painting the world in hues of gold and promise, while the frankincense continues its eternal dance skyward, blessing every soul who breathes its sacred perfume. The streets hum with quiet preparation, hearts beat with ancient rhythms, and the very air seems pregnant with the possibility of wonder, of celebration, of connection with something infinitely beautiful. The rock-hewn churches stand ready now, their stone hearts open to receive the faithful, their carved chambers prepared for the sacred ceremonies that will soon transform them from monuments into living temples. The morning has awakened not just the landscape, but the soul of the celebration itself, stirring ancient traditions from their patient slumber, calling forth the timeless rituals that make Ganna not just a holiday, but a bridge between the human and the divine, between memory and miracle. And so, as the dawning of Ganna reaches its peaceful conclusion, we pause in the sacred stillness that follows, letting the frankincense-sweetened air fill our lungs with tranquility, feeling the ancient rhythms of faith pulsing gently through our consciousness. The stage is set, the hearts are prepared, and the timeless celebration awaits. ready to unfold its mysteries in the chapters that follow, like petals opening slowly, beautifully, inevitably toward the light of understanding and the warmth of sacred joy. Chapter 2: The Weaving of White. In the gentle light of dawn, skilled hands unfold pristine white cotton. The Habesha chemist awaits its transformation. This traditional garment carries centuries of Ethiopian heritage within its threads. Each fold tells a story of devotion, each stitch whispers prayers of preparation. As we watch these sacred garments take shape, we begin to understand how clothing becomes more than fabric. It becomes a bridge between the earthly and divine. The Habesha chemise flows like morning mist, pure white cotton that seems to glow with inner light. Women across Ethiopia have worn these garments for generations during Ganna celebrations. The dress extends gracefully to the ankles, its sleeves wide and welcoming, like embracing arms. Traditional embroidery dances along the neckline and hem, delicate patterns that speak of cultural identity and spiritual reverence. Each chemise is unique, yet all share the same sacred purpose. Listen closely. Can you hear the whisper of thread through fabric? The creation of a Habesha chemist requires patience that mirrors the spiritual journey itself. Master weavers begin their work in the pre-dawn hours, when the world is still and hearts are quiet. Their fingers move with practiced grace, selecting only the finest cotton threads. This is not merely clothing construction, it is meditation in motion, prayer transformed into tangible beauty. The loom stands ready, ancient wood weathered by countless hours of faithful service. Cotton threads stretch taut like harp strings, waiting to sing their silent song. The weaver settles into rhythm, shuttle dancing back and forth in hypnotic patterns. Each pass of the shuttle adds another layer to the story, another thread to the tapestry of tradition. Time moves differently here, measured not in minutes, but in the gentle cadence of creation. Watch as intricate patterns emerge from seemingly simple threads. The type every traditional embroidery begins to bloom along the fabric's edges. Golden threads catch the light, creating constellations of beauty against the white canvas. These designs are not random decorations, they carry meaning passed down through generations. Crosses, geometric patterns, symbols of faith and identity woven into the very fiber of Ethiopian culture, each stitch a small act of devotion. The needle becomes an extension of the seamstress's soul, gliding through cotton with tender precision. Years of practice have taught her hands to move without conscious thought, guided by muscle memory and spiritual intention. Each stitch must be perfect, not for vanity, but for honor. This garment will be worn in sacred spaces before God and community. The responsibility weighs gently on her shoulders, a burden transformed into blessing through love. White cotton speaks the language of purity, its pristine surface unmarked by worldly concerns. In Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, white represents spiritual cleanliness, the soul prepared for divine encounter. When believers don their Habesha chemis for Jenna, they clothe themselves in more than fabric. They wrap their bodies in symbols of repentance, renewal, and readiness to receive God's blessing. The garment becomes armor against spiritual darkness, protection woven from threads of faith. The choice of white extends beyond aesthetic preference. It reflects deep theological understanding. Just as snow covers the earth in pristine beauty, so does the white chemis cover human imperfection with divine grace. Ethiopian mothers teach their daughters this truth, that clothing can be prayer made visible. When we dress with intention, we acknowledge our desire to approach the sacred with proper reverence. humility clothing our hearts, as surely as fabric clothes our bodies. Humility threads itself through every aspect of chemist creation. Master craftspeople work without ego, knowing their skill comes as divine gift. They do not sign their work, do not seek recognition beyond the quiet satisfaction of service well rendered. Their reward comes in witnessing families clothed in beauty, communities gathered in unity, believers prepared to encounter the sacred. This is artistry without vanity, creativity flowing from spiritual discipline rather than personal ambition. Feel the cotton between your fingers, soft as whispered prayers, smooth as morning dew on holy ground. The fabric carries the warmth of human hands, the dedication of countless hours spent in patient creation. There is texture here beyond the physical, layers of meaning woven into every strand. The chemist rustles gently as it moves a sound like wind through sacred groves, peaceful, comforting, a textile lullaby that speaks of home and heritage. In the tailor's workshop, time slows to the rhythm of creation. Sunlight filters through windows, casting gentle patterns across white fabric, spread like snow across wooden tables. The air holds the scent of cotton, clean and pure, mixed with the faint aroma of coffee, Ethiopia's beloved gift to the world. This is sacred space, where tradition lives and breathes through skilled hands, where heritage takes tangible form, one stitch at a time. Look into the tailor's eyes, see the tender concentration there, the careful attention to every detail. This is more than professional pride. It is love made manifest through craft. Each fold must fall perfectly, each seam must hold strong, each embroidered thread must find its proper place. The responsibility runs deep, creating garments that will carry families through sacred moments, clothing that becomes part of memory, fabric woven into the story of faith and celebration. The Habesha chemist finds its deeper meaning in the fast of the prophets, 43 days of spiritual preparation before Ganna's joyful arrival. During this season of discipline, believers prepare their souls as carefully as craftspeople prepare sacred garments. The white clothing becomes symbol of this inner transformation, external expression of internal cleansing. Just as cotton is purified before weaving, so hearts are purified before celebration through prayer, fasting, and spiritual reflection. The fast of the prophets teaches patience, the same virtue required to create beautiful chemists. Spiritual discipline, like fine needlework, cannot be rushed. Each day of fasting adds another thread to the soul's preparation, each prayer another stitch in the fabric of faith. Believers emerge from this season clothed in righteousness, ready to don their white garments with hearts as pure as the cotton they wear. Internal and external preparation unite in sacred harmony. As fasting days pass, anticipation builds, like threads gathering on the loom. Families begin selecting their Jenna garments, children trying on chemis that rustle with excitement, adults feeling the weight of tradition in white cotton. The garments hang waiting, patient as the faithful who wear them, ready to transform ordinary people into participants in sacred mystery. Each fold holds possibility, each stitch carries hope, each thread connects past to present in unbroken chain. The completed Habesha chemist rests in gentle folds, white cotton, dreaming of sacred celebrations to come. Soon these garments will fill churches with rustling whispers, will clothe families in beauty, will transform communities into visible expressions of faith. The weaving is complete, but the story has only just begun. For when Christmas morning arrives in Ethiopia, these white robes will dance in procession, carrying centuries of tradition, wrapping believers in the embrace of their ancestors' faith. Chapter 3: Silent Suppers, the Fast of the Prophets. In the quiet corners of an Ethiopian Orthodox home, silence speaks volumes. For 43 days before Ganna, families enter a sacred rhythm of fasting. The kitchen grows still, the familiar sizzle of meat disappears, and in this gentle abstinence, something profound unfolds. Tonight, we step into this world of spiritual discipline where empty plates become full hearts and hunger transforms into hope. The fast begins at midnight with the soft whisper of prayer. Grandmother Almaz rises before dawn, her bare feet padding across cool stone floors. The house holds its breath, waiting. She lights a single candle, the flame dancing against ancient walls. This is not mere tradition, but a covenant with the divine. Her weathered hands fold in reverence as she prepares to guide her family through these sacred weeks of waiting, of wanting, of worship. The household awakens slowly to a different kind of mourning. No aroma of Berbere spiced meat fills the air, no butter sizzling in clay pans. Instead, the kitchen breathes quietly. Young Hannah opens cupboards with careful reverence, removing dairy, meat, eggs. She arranges them respectfully aside, creating space for what remains. Lentils, grains, vegetables, these humble ingredients will sustain them, body and soul, through the coming weeks of devotion and discipline. Prayer begins each fasting day, voices rising in ancient giyas. Father Desta leads his family in morning devotions, their words floating like incense through the dim light. The children sit cross-legged, learning patience alongside scripture. Their stomachs may rumble softly, but their spirits fill with something deeper. This is the paradox of fasting, emptying to become full, denying to discover, weakening the flesh to strengthen the soul, through sacred rhythm and holy routine. In the kitchen, transformation unfolds quietly. Clay pots that once held spiced meat now cradle humble lentils. The fire burns lower, gentler, reflecting the household's softened pace. Mother Meron stirs yellow split peas with wooden spoons worn smooth by generations. No ghee, no butter, just water and time. The cooking becomes meditation, each stir a prayer, each bubble a blessing. Simplicity teaches what abundance sometimes cannot, that less can indeed become more. Breakfast arrives as injera, sour and spongy, paired with simple shiro. The spiced chickpea paste tastes different now, earthier, more essential. Without the richness of butter or meat, each flavor stands alone, honest and pure. The family gathers around their shared plate, fingers breaking bread with quiet reverence. Their hunger is real, but so is their purpose. Each simple bite connects them to countless generations who fasted, who waited, who believed. Young Daniel feels the fast most keenly, his growing body craving what cannot be given. At school, he watches classmates eat eggs and milk, their faces glowing with satisfaction. He cannot share. Yet something stirs within his hunger, a quiet pride, a sense of belonging to something ancient and meaningful. His empty stomach becomes a teacher, instructing him in discipline, in sacrifice, in the beautiful difficulty of choosing faith over immediate pleasure, spirit over flesh. The neighborhood fasts together, creating invisible bonds of shared sacrifice. Neighbor helps neighbor, sharing vegan recipes passed down through mothers and grandmothers. They exchange handfuls of Berber spice, mixed carefully, without animal products, lentils soaked overnight, vegetables dried under the highland sun. Community blooms in scarcity, Friendship deepens in mutual discipline. Together they carry the weight of fasting, making the burden lighter through shared commitment, collective faith, and common purpose. By the second week, the body surrenders its protests. Hunger becomes familiar, no longer an enemy but a companion. The mind grows clearer, thoughts less scattered. Prayer comes easier now, words flowing like water over smooth stones. This is the gift hidden within fasting, the paradox of spiritual discipline. As physical strength diminishes, spiritual strength increases. The soul learns to feast on faith, to drink from wells of devotion, to find sustenance in surrender. Midday brings quiet reflection, stomachs light, but hearts heavy with meaning. Grandmother Almaz sits beneath the old fig tree, her prayer beads clicking softly between weathered fingers. Each bead marks a blessing, each click a conversation with the divine. The fast has stripped away distractions, revealing what truly matters. Time moves differently here, slowed by intention, deepened by devotion, measured not in hours, but in heartbeats, in prayers, in moments of pure connection. Evening preparations begin with gratitude, hands washing in holy rhythm. The kitchen fills with gentle sounds, water boiling, vegetables chopping, prayers murmuring. Mother Muran prepares kikalicha, yellow split peas, simmered with turmeric and ginger. The spices warm but do not overwhelm, keeping the body calm, the mind focused. Each ingredient chosen with care, each flavor balanced for both nourishment and spiritual clarity. Food becomes medicine, cooking becomes communion, eating becomes prayer. Traditional dishes emerge transformed by fasting rules, familiar flavors made new through limitation. Misir Wat arrives without butter, the red lentils rich with Berber, but gentler somehow. Goman simmers in water rather than oil, the collard greens tender and clean. Atakiltwat brings carrots and cabbage together in simple harmony. These vegan treasures prove that restriction can birth creativity, that boundaries can free the imagination, that less truly can become more through faith and ingenuity. The children learn by watching, absorbing lessons deeper than recipes. Little Sarah helps her mother measure bir-e, her small hands, learning the weight of tradition. She asks why they cannot eat meat, why the milk sits untouched. Her mother's gentle explanation plants seeds of understanding, that some hungers feed the soul, that waiting makes joy sweeter, that discipline creates space for miracles. These quiet lessons will echo through generations, wisdom passed hand to hand, heart to heart. By week 4, the fast has changed them all. Bodies move more slowly, but spirits soar higher. Sleep comes easier, dreams arrive more vividly. The physical emptiness has created space for something else, something holy, something transformative. They move through days with quiet grace, speaking softer, listening deeper, noticing beauty previously hidden. The fast has become teacher, showing them strength they didn't know they possessed, faith they didn't know they carried within their hungry hearts. Signs appear that the fast nears its end, subtle but unmistakable. Grandmother Almaz begins eyeing the stored honey, running fingers over clay pots that will soon hold milk again. The children grow restless with anticipation, their 43 days of discipline almost complete. And when the children grow restless with anticipation, their 43 days of discipline almost complete. Markets begin displaying ingredients forbidden for weeks: butter, cheese, meat. Yet mixed with excitement comes something unexpected: reluctance to leave this sacred space, this holy hunger, this beautiful emptiness that taught them so much about fullness. The final days arrive with mounting excitement, the fast drawing toward its joyous conclusion. Preparation whispers begin, plans for Jenna feasting, spoken in hushed anticipation. Yet something has shifted within this household, within their hearts, within their souls. The fast has not simply been endured, but embraced, not merely survived, but celebrated. They have learned that hunger can be holy, that emptiness can teach fullness, that waiting creates space for wonder. Soon, very soon, celebration will begin. Chapter 4, Eve of the Celebration. As darkness gently embraces the Ethiopian highlands, the sacred eve of Ganna begins to unfold. In countless homes across this ancient land, families prepare to close one of the longest fasting periods in Christianity. Tonight, after 55 days of abstaining from meat and dairy, the air itself seems to shimmer with anticipation. Can you feel it? That gentle stirring of something sacred approaching. The lamplit windows of stone houses cast warm golden rectangles across quiet courtyards where children play softly in the fading light. Inside these humble dwellings, mothers move with practiced grace, their white cotton shawls catching the flicker of oil flames. The scent of Berber spice and roasting barley drifts through doorways, creating an atmosphere thick with tradition and the promise of tomorrow's celebration. Tonight marks the final hours of the Great Fast, and you can sense the quiet excitement building in every household. Fathers sit cross-legged on woven mats, consulting ancient calendars and speaking in hushed tones about tomorrow's ceremonies. The fasting has been a journey of the spirit, purifying both body and soul, preparing hearts for the joy that Ganna will bring at sunrise. In the corner of each home, the coffee ceremony begins with reverent slowness. Green coffee beans are washed carefully, then roasted over glowing charcoal until their rich aroma fills every corner of the dwelling. The eldest woman of the house performs this ritual, her movements deliberate and meditative, as 3 rounds of coffee will be prepared to honor the Holy Trinity. The first sip of coffee touches lips that have abstained from such pleasures for weeks, and the taste is nothing short of transcendent. Rich, earthy, with hints of spice that dance across the tongue, this simple beverage becomes a gateway back to abundance. Each family member receives their portion with gratitude, savoring not just the flavor, but the meaning behind this sacred moment. Fresh injera bread, spongy and tangy, is torn and shared among the family members. After weeks of simple grains and vegetables, the taste of this beloved staple feels like a celebration in itself. Children smile as they dip the bread into mild stews, their eyes bright with the knowledge that tomorrow will bring even greater feasts, even richer flavors to enjoy together. Outside, the Ethiopian sky transforms into a cathedral of stars. The highland air is crisp and clear, allowing countless points of light to pierce the darkness with unusual brilliance. Families step onto their flat rooftops, wrapped in thick shawls, and gaze upward at this celestial display. Tonight, even the heavens seem to be celebrating the approaching birth of Christ. Grandmothers point to familiar constellations, sharing ancient stories that have been passed down through generations. They speak of the star that guided the wise men and how tonight's sky mirrors that holy night 2,000 years ago. The children listen with wide eyes, their imaginations filling with images of angels and shepherds, of a baby born in humble circumstances. As the evening deepens, families begin their ritual cleansing in preparation for tomorrow's sacred celebration. Clay pots filled with fresh water are brought into each home, and family members take turns washing their hands, their feet, their faces with special care. This cleansing represents more than physical preparation. It symbolizes the purification of the soul for Ganna's holy observance. The water feels cool against sun-weathered skin, each splash a reminder of baptism, of renewal, of the fresh start that tomorrow's celebration will bring. Mothers wash their children's hair with gentle hands, working fragrant oils through the dark strands while humming ancient hymns. These simple acts of care become prayers, offerings of love to prepare for Christ's birthday celebration. Traditional white garments are laid out carefully for tomorrow's festivities, each piece pressed and pristine. The women examine their hand-woven shawls, ensuring every thread is perfect for the sacred day ahead. These clothes represent purity, humility, and the joy of celebrating Christ's birth in the manner of their ancestors. Every fold, every hem tells a story of faith and tradition. Children can barely contain their excitement as bedtime approaches, their whispered conversations filled with anticipation for tomorrow's games and festivities. They speak of the church processions they'll witness, the special foods they'll taste, the gifts they might receive. Yet there's a reverent quality to their excitement, a understanding that tomorrow is more than just celebration, it's worship made manifest. The village elders share stories of Ganna celebrations from decades past, their weathered faces glowing in the lamplight as they recount tales of miraculous happenings and profound spiritual experiences. They speak of years when the rains came just after Ganna prayers, of healings that occurred during the celebrations, of how this ancient holiday has sustained their community through countless generations. Neighbors call softly to each other across courtyard walls, sharing final preparations and extending invitations for tomorrow's festivities. The sense of community grows stronger as the night deepens, each family connected to the next through bonds of faith and tradition. No one will celebrate Ganna alone, for this is a holiday that brings all people together in joyous unity. As midnight approaches, the villages grow quieter, but the sense of anticipation never fades. Oil lamps are dimmed, but not extinguished, their gentle flames keeping vigil through the night. Some families choose to pray together before sleep, offering thanks for the completed fast and asking for blessings on tomorrow's celebration. Their voices blend in ancient Amharic hymns. The night settles over Ethiopia like a soft blanket, but sleep comes slowly to those awaiting Ganna's dawn. In homes across the highlands, families rest with hearts full of gratitude and anticipation. Tomorrow will bring music, feasting, and the joy of celebrating Christ's birth in the unique Ethiopian tradition. But tonight, in the peaceful hours before celebration, there is perfect stillness, perfect peace. Chapter 5, Sacred Echoes. As dawn breaks over the highlands of Ethiopia, the first whispers of Christmas morning prayers begin to stir. The ancient stones of Orthodox churches hold centuries of devotion within their walls, and today they will witness once more the gathering of faithful souls. In the crisp morning air, voices unite in sacred harmony, creating echoes that will touch every heart present. Let us listen as these holy sounds wash over the peaceful landscape, carrying with them the deepest traditions of Ganna celebration. The first light of Christmas morning touches the bell towers, casting long shadows across the courtyard where families begin to gather. Children wrapped in warm shawls walk beside their grandparents, their breath visible in the cool mountain air. The sound of footsteps on ancient stone creates a gentle rhythm, a percussion that accompanies the soft murmurs of anticipation. Each person carries with them the weight of tradition, the joy of community, and the sacred promise of this holy day unfolding before them. Inside the church, candles flicker against painted icons, their golden light dancing across faces filled with reverence. The priest begins the ancient liturgy, his voice resonating through centuries-old walls that have witnessed countless Christmas celebrations. Congregants bow their heads in unison, creating waves of devotion that flow through the sacred space. The air itself seems to hold the prayers, thick with incense and whispered words, as the community settles into the rhythm of worship that has sustained their ancestors for generations. A grandmother's weathered hands clasp her prayer beads, each bead worn smooth by decades of faithful devotion. Her lips move silently, forming words passed down through generations of women in her family. Beside her, a young mother holds her sleeping infant, whispering blessings over the child's peaceful face. These intimate moments of prayer weave together, creating an invisible tapestry of faith that connects every person in the church, binding them in shared purpose and sacred intention on this Christmas morning. The choir's voices rise like morning mist, ethereal and pure, filling every corner of the sacred space with harmonies that seem to transcend earthly bounds. Children's soprano notes blend with the deep bass of elderly men, creating layers of sound that resonate in the chest and soul. Each voice carries its own story, its own journey of faith, yet together they form something greater than themselves. The music becomes a bridge, connecting heaven and earth, past and present, individual hearts, and collective spirit. Outside the church walls, the morning breeze carries fragments of prayer across the landscape, touching those who cannot be present, but whose hearts remain connected to this sacred gathering. A shepherd on a distant hillside pauses in his work, hearing the faint echo of familiar hymns. An elderly woman confined to her home presses her ear to the window, catching whispers of the celebration she has attended for 70 years. The sacred echoes know no boundaries, reaching every corner of the community with gentle persistence. The rhythm of prayer creates its own sacred time, where minutes stretch like hours and hours pass like moments. Bodies sway gently with the ancient melodies, while minds drift into meditation and hearts open to receive divine grace. The cold stone floor beneath bare feet becomes warm with the energy of collective devotion. Each breath taken in unison, each word spoken together, each moment of silence shared, builds upon the last, creating a crescendo of spiritual connection that fills the morning air. Young fathers lift their children to see over the crowd, passing on the visual memory of this sacred gathering to the next generation. The little one's wide eyes take in the pageantry, the colors, the solemnity, storing these images in hearts that will carry them forward for decades to come. This is how tradition lives, through the simple act of witnessing together, of standing side by side in sacred space, of allowing the ancient prayers to flow through young voices and old, creating an unbroken chain of faith and community. The morning light shifts through stained glass windows, painting rainbow patterns across upturned faces, lost in prayer. Colors dance across white robes and dark skin, creating a living kaleidoscope of devotion. Each ray of sunlight seems to carry its own blessing, illuminating tears of joy, highlighting hands raised in praise, casting gentle shadows that speak of the divine presence dwelling among the gathered faithful. The light itself becomes part of the prayer, a visible manifestation of the sacred echoes filling this holy space. Personal prayers rise like incense smoke, individual needs and gratitudes offered up to merge with the collective voice of worship. A farmer gives thanks for the harvest, a mother prays for her children's health, an elderly man seeks forgiveness for old regrets. These intimate conversations with the divine weave together, creating a complex symphony of human need and divine grace. Each prayer matters, each voice is heard, each heart is known in this sacred space where the individual and the universal meet and dance together. The stone walls themselves seem to breathe with the rhythm of prayer, absorbing centuries of devotion and releasing it back into the present moment. Every crack in the ancient masonry holds the memory of countless Christmas mornings. Every worn step speaks of pilgrimages made in faith and hope. The building itself becomes a living participant in the worship, its very structure shaped by the sacred echoes that have filled it year after year, decade after decade, century after century, creating a tangible connection to all who have worshipped here before. As the service reaches its crescendo, voices unite in the ancient Christmas proclamation that has echoed through Ethiopian churches for over 1,500 years. The words are not merely spoken, but lived, breathed, embodied by every person present. Hands reach toward heaven, hearts overflow with joy, eyes shine with tears of recognition. This is more than ritual, it is remembrance, it is celebration, it is the living embodiment of faith, passing from one generation to the next, carried forward on the wings of sacred song and communal prayer. The congregation begins to move as one body, swaying gently with the rhythm of ancient hymns that have sustained their people through centuries of joy and sorrow. Unity is not just an ideal here, it is a lived reality, visible in the synchronized breathing, the harmonized voices, the shared tears of transcendence. Strangers become family, differences disappear, individual hearts merge into one great beating organ of collective devotion. This is the true miracle of Christmas morning, not the supernatural, but the profoundly human experience of becoming one people, one voice, one prayer. The sacred echoes bounce off ancient walls, returning transformed, carrying the added resonance of each voice they have touched. Sound becomes memory, memory becomes tradition, tradition becomes the living bridge that connects this Christmas morning to every Christmas morning that came before. Children who will someday be grandparents absorb these echoes into their bones, storing them away to be released decades hence when they stand in this same sacred space, their own voices adding new harmonies to the eternal song of faith and community. As morning prayers draw toward their peaceful close, the sense of belonging settles over the congregation like a warm blanket. Hearts that arrived heavy with worldly concerns now feel lightened, spirits that came burdened now soar with hope, minds that were scattered now rest in unity. The sacred echoes have done their ancient work, weaving individual souls into the greater tapestry of community, transforming a collection of people into a family of faith, preparing hearts and minds for the greater celebration that waits just beyond these hallowed walls. The final prayers fade into silence, but the echoes linger, hovering in the air like benedictions waiting to be claimed. In this profound quiet, hearts prepare to carry these sacred sounds back into the world, to let them influence every interaction, every decision, every moment of the day ahead. The church doors will soon open, releasing the congregation into the broader celebration of Ganna, but they carry within them now the transformative power of sacred community, the echoes that will sustain them until they gather here again in faith and hope and love. Chapter 6, Light and Shadows. As we draw closer to the heart of Ganna, ancient stones whisper secrets from centuries past. These rock-hewn churches, carved directly from volcanic rock over 1,000 years ago, stand as monuments to human devotion and divine inspiration. Each structure tells a story, Each shadow holds a memory. Each ray of light illuminates the sacred artistry that has endured through countless Ethiopian celebrations. Morning light filters gently through the stone windows, casting ethereal patterns across weathered walls. The interplay of sunshine and shadow creates a natural cathedral where golden beams dance with ancient carvings. This soft illumination, reminiscent of light through Victorian lace, transforms the rough-hewn surfaces into something almost magical, as if the very stones are breathing with the rhythm of centuries-old prayers and whispered devotions. These magnificent churches emerged during the reign of King Lalibela in the 12th century, born from a vision of creating a new Jerusalem in the Ethiopian highlands. Skilled craftsmen worked for decades, chiseling downward through solid rock, creating entire sanctuaries below ground level. The historical significance runs deeper than their physical foundations, representing Ethiopia's unbroken Christian tradition, a testament to faith that has weathered invasions, political upheavals, and the passage of time itself. Run your fingers along these ancient walls, and you'll discover intricate carvings that tell biblical stories in stone. Angels with outstretched wings, crosses in geometric patterns, scenes from the life of Christ, all carved with meticulous care by artists whose names history has forgotten. Each detail speaks of devotion, each symbol carries meaning, each curve and line represents hours of patient work, creating a visual scripture that illiterate pilgrims could read and understand. Local legends weave through these sacred spaces like incense smoke, stories of miraculous visions and divine interventions. They say King Lalibela received his architectural plans in dreams, guided by angels who showed him how to carve heaven into earth. Some believe the churches were built by angels themselves, working alongside human hands during the day and completing the impossible tasks alone through each night, leaving behind these monuments to faith and wonder. Outside these ancient walls, life continues its joyful rhythm as children's laughter echoes off stone surfaces. Young voices create a beautiful counterpoint to the sacred silence within their games of tag and hide and seek, transforming the church courtyards into playgrounds. They dart between shadows cast by ancient walls, their bright clothing a splash of color against weathered stone, embodying the vibrancy of Ethiopian culture, the living spirit that keeps these historical places alive and meaningful. Step inside, and the world transforms into profound stillness. The temperature drops, sounds become muffled, and time seems to slow to a reverent pace. Here in these stone chambers, believers have prayed for nearly 9 centuries, their whispered devotions absorbed into the very walls. The interior holds a peaceful energy that transcends religious boundaries, a universal sense of the sacred that speaks to something deep within the human soul, something eternal and unchanging. This contrast invites gentle reflection, the energy of children playing outside, the timeless serenity within. It's a beautiful metaphor for existence itself, the transient joys of daily life, dancing alongside the eternal truths that anchor our spirits. The laughter fades, the games end, childhood passes, but these stones remain, these prayers echo, these sacred spaces continue to offer shelter for souls seeking connection with something greater than themselves, something permanent in an impermanent world. The spiritual atmosphere here is almost tangible. Centuries of prayer and worship have created an energy that visitors can feel the moment they enter. Orthodox priests move through these spaces with practiced reverence, their white robes flowing like gentle clouds, their chanted prayers adding new layers to the accumulated devotion. The air itself seems blessed, holding the essence of countless Ganna celebrations, thousands of Easter services, decades of daily prayers that have sanctified these stones. Ancient rituals find their perfect home in these carved sanctuaries, where tradition flows as smoothly as candlelight across stone walls. During Ganna preparations, priests perform ceremonial blessings, lighting incense that spirals upward like visible prayers. The Ethiopian Orthodox liturgy, unchanged for centuries, resonates beautifully within these acoustically perfect spaces. Each word of Gies, each melodic chant, each ritual gesture connecting present worshippers with generations of faithful who have gathered here before. The sacred significance of these churches extends beyond their architectural wonder. They represent Ethiopia's spiritual identity, its unbroken connection to early Christianity. Here, believers trace the same paths walked by medieval pilgrims, touch the same stones blessed by centuries of worship, participate in rituals that link them to the very foundations of their faith. These places are not museums, but living sanctuaries where the sacred and everyday intertwine, where history breathes and tradition thrives. As Ghana approaches, anticipation builds like morning mist rising from these ancient stones. The entire community prepares for the grand procession, the spectacular celebration that will transform these quiet courtyards into rivers of white robed pilgrims. You can almost hear the future, the sound of thousands of voices raised in praise, the rhythm of traditional drums, the joyful ululation that will echo off these same walls, creating new memories in places where memories are treasured like precious gems. Special preparations begin in earnest. Now, as families gather ceremonial white cotton garments, as priests prepare sacred texts and ritual objects, as the community readies itself for the holiest celebration of the Ethiopian calendar. The rock-hewn churches will soon overflow with worshippers. Their ancient walls will witness another chapter in the ongoing story of faith. Their carved angels will look down upon another generation, celebrating the miracle of Christmas in the uniquely Ethiopian way, with deep reverence and boundless joy. The community gathers strength from these sacred foundations, drawing courage and hope from stones that have weathered every storm. Extended families reunite in the shadows of these churches, sharing stories, renewing bonds, preparing their hearts for the spiritual journey ahead. The architecture itself serves as a metaphor, carved from the earth yet reaching toward heaven, grounded in history yet eternal in purpose, human in creation yet divine in inspiration, perfectly embodying the Ethiopian Orthodox understanding of faith. Final preparations ripple through the community like gentle waves as vendors arrange traditional foods, as musicians tune ancient instruments, as children practice songs they'll sing in the procession. The churches stand ready, their doorways soon to welcome streams of pilgrims, their courtyards soon to echo with celebration, their very stones eager to witness another Ghana, another affirmation of faith, another demonstration of the unbroken thread that connects modern Ethiopia to its glorious spiritual heritage, to its eternal source of strength. And now, as shadows lengthen and evening approaches, we sense the magnificent procession drawing near. Tomorrow's dawn will bring the grand spectacle, thousands of white-robed pilgrims, ancient chants echoing off these weathered walls, the culmination of weeks of preparation, the heart of Ghana itself. The rock-hewn churches have been patient witnesses to history, and tomorrow they will once again serve as the perfect stage for one of Christianity's most beautiful and enduring celebrations. The procession comes. Chapter 7, The Procession of Faith. As dawn breaks over ancient Ethiopian soil, the sacred drums begin their gentle rhythm, calling the faithful from their homes. Thousands gather in the pre-morning light, their white cotton shawls flowing like clouds against the earth. The air fills with anticipation, with whispered prayers, with the soft shuffle of bare feet on sacred ground. This is Ghana's most beautiful moment, when an entire community becomes one moving prayer, one unified celebration of timeless faith and tradition. The priests emerge from the ancient church, their robes catching the first rays of sunlight. Each vestment tells a story, golden threads weaving tales of devotion across centuries of worship. The head priest carries the sacred tablet, wrapped in precious silks that shimmer like morning dew. Behind him, younger clergy follow in perfect formation, their voices beginning the first gentle chants of the procession. The melody rises softly, floating over the gathering crowd, a sound that seems to bridge heaven and earth. Listen closely. Can you hear the ancient Gaia's prayers beginning to weave through the air? Each syllable carries the weight of 15 centuries, passed down through generations of faithful voices. The language of the angels, as the Ethiopian Orthodox call it, flows like honey over the morning silence. Children press close to their grandparents, learning these sacred sounds by heart, their young voices joining the timeless chorus. This is how tradition lives, through breath, through voice, through the patient teaching of love. The procession begins to move slowly, deliberately, like a river of devotion flowing toward the sacred destination. White umbrellas bloom above the clergy, their silken canopies catching the golden light. Incense burners swing gently, releasing fragrant clouds that dance upward, carrying prayers to the heavens. The scent of frankincense mingles with the cool morning air, creating an atmosphere of pure reverence. Each step is measured, each movement intentional, as if the earth itself is holy ground beneath their feet. The drums speak in their ancient language, a rhythm that has echoed through Ethiopian valleys for over 1,000 years. Each beat carries the heartbeat of a nation, the pulse of a people who have kept their faith through centuries of change. The Kebro drums, crafted from sacred wood, produce sounds that seem to vibrate through your very soul. Listen as the rhythm grows, building slowly, drawing more voices into its hypnotic embrace, creating a symphony of devotion that fills every corner of the morning. Among the sea of worshippers, you notice the sistrum bells, their gentle chiming, adding silver notes to the golden morning. These ancient instruments, unchanged for millennia, produce sounds that seem to shimmer in the air. Each bell carries its own voice, its own prayer, its own story of faith. The women who hold them move with graceful precision, their white Nutella shawls flowing like angels' wings. The sistrum's song mingles with the drums, creating a melody that speaks directly to the heart. The sacred tablet moves through the crowd, wrapped in its precious covering, representing the Ark of the Covenant itself. This is the heart of Ethiopian Orthodox faith, the presence of the divine made manifest among the people. As it passes, the faithful bow their heads, some reaching out just to touch the sacred cloth with trembling fingertips. Children are lifted high, so they too can witness this holy moment. The reverence is palpable, thick as morning mist, surrounding everyone in its gentle embrace. The chanting grows stronger now, voices joining from every corner of the procession. Old women add their weathered voices to the chorus, their years of faith evident in every note they sing. Young men raise their voices in harmony, creating a sound that seems to lift everyone's spirits skyward. The melody weaves between ancient and eternal, carrying stories of suffering and joy, of exile and return, of a people who have never forgotten their sacred calling to worship with pure hearts. Embroidered robes catch the morning light, each thread a prayer, each pattern a story of devotion. The vestments have been crafted by skilled hands, some passed down through generations of church artisans. Golden crosses shine against deep blue fabric, silver threads trace the outlines of ancient symbols. These robes transform ordinary men into vessels of the sacred bridges between the earthly and divine. As they move, the fabrics whisper softly, adding their own quiet music to the procession's gentle symphony. The crowd moves as one organism, thousands of individuals becoming a single expression of faith. Families walk together, grandparents sharing stories, parents pointing out sacred symbols to wide-eyed children. The elderly lean on wooden staffs, their faces glowing with the joy of another Ganna celebration. Young mothers carry sleeping babies who somehow remain peaceful despite the growing chorus around them. This is community at its most beautiful, united in purpose, connected by something greater than themselves. The morning sun climbs higher, casting long shadows that dance with the procession. Light filters through the incense clouds, creating moments of pure magic where the spiritual seems to shimmer in the very air. Photographers would struggle to capture this beauty because it lives not just in what you see, but in what you feel, in the vibrations that move through your chest, in the peace that settles over your mind like a gentle blanket of grace and wonder. Listen to the layers of sound building around you, the deep boom of the kebro drums, the delicate chiming of sistrum bells, the rising and falling of ancient chants, the soft rustle of thousands of cotton garments, the whispered prayers of individual voices, the gentle weeping of those overwhelmed by the beauty of this moment. Each sound adds to the tapestry, creating something that transcends music, something that touches the very essence of human spiritual expression. The procession reaches its sacred destination, but the energy doesn't diminish, it transforms. The formal march becomes a celebration, voices rise in joyful praise, faces beam with the radiance of shared faith. This is the moment where reverence and jubilation merge, where the solemn and the celebratory become one beautiful expression of devotion. Children laugh, adults smile, the elderly nod with satisfaction, knowing that another generation has witnessed the glory of Ganna, the eternal gift of Ethiopian Christmas celebration. As the formal procession concludes, something magical lingers in the air. The sacred echoes seem to hover, not quite ready to fade, as if the prayers and chants have taken on a life of their own. People begin to move toward their homes, but they carry something with them, an invisible blessing, a renewed sense of connection, a deeper appreciation for the traditions that bind them together across generations. The morning has transformed them all, marked them with the beauty of shared worship. The spectacle may be ending, but its impact will resonate for days to come. In hearts and minds, the memory of this morning will replay, bringing comfort during difficult moments, inspiration during times of doubt, and joy during moments of celebration. The sounds will echo in quiet moments. The images will surface in dreams. The feelings will return whenever the faithful gather. This is the true power of ritual, its ability to create lasting spiritual impressions. Now the families disperse, carrying the blessing of the procession back to their homes, where more intimate traditions await. The grand public celebration has prepared their hearts, opened their spirits, readied them for the personal moments of worship and family connection that make Ghana complete. The sacred has touched the communal, and now it will touch the personal as we follow these faithful souls into the quiet sanctity of their family celebrations, where the true heart of Christmas lives. Chapter 8, Feasting After the Fast. The procession fades into memory as families return to their homes. The air shifts from ceremonial reverence to something warmer, more intimate. Children's laughter echoes through doorways. Mothers hum ancient melodies while preparing the feast. The scent of Berber spice mingles with frankincense, still clinging to festival clothes. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for, when sacrifice transforms into celebration, when empty bellies prepare to overflow with gratitude. Ethiopian homes now pulse with quiet joy. Families gather in circles, their faces glowing with accomplishment. The fasting period has ended, and with it comes a profound sense of achievement. Grandmothers spread woven baskets, fathers wash hands in ceremonial bowls, children fidget with excitement, knowing the feast is near. Every gesture carries weight, every preparation holds meaning. This isn't just about food, it's about community, about faith rewarded, about coming together after walking apart. The centerpiece arrives in Hira, Ethiopia's beloved sourdough pancake. Its spongy surface spreads across the communal plate like a soft blanket, ready to cradle the feast ahead. Hands work together, rolling the tangy bread, its slightly sour aroma filling the room. This isn't just sustenance, it's tradition made edible. Each bubble and crater tells a story of patience, of fermentation, of time honored by generations. The bread that will soon unite every flavor, every family member, every prayer offered. Then come the stews, rich and aromatic. Doro Wat simmers in clay pots, its deep red color speaking of Berber spice, and slow cooking, chunks of tender chicken float in the sauce, hard-boiled eggs nestled like hidden treasures. The contrast is striking. After weeks of simple meals, bland vegetables, plain bread, now the palate awakens to complexity, to heat and depth, to flavors that dance on the tongue. This is what patience tastes like, what faith delivers, what waiting rewards. Kitfo appears alongside raw beef, minced to perfection, seasoned with mitmetea spice that tingles and warms. Goman simmers nearby, collard greens cooked with garlic and ginger. Each dish tells its own story, carries its own tradition. Together they create a symphony of taste, of culture, of celebration. The spices awaken senses dulled by fasting. Cardamom, fenugreek, coriander, each one a note in Ethiopia's culinary song, played now for families ready to truly listen, truly taste, truly celebrate. Hands reach together, tearing injera, scooping stew, sharing from the same plate. This communal eating isn't just tradition, it's intimacy, it's trust. Fingers brush as portions are passed. Conversations flow like honey wine. Children learn by watching, by participating, by belonging. No one eats alone. No one takes more than needed. Every morsel shared multiplies the joy. Every bite taken in company tastes better than anything eaten in solitude. This is fellowship made tangible, love made edible, community made real. Between bites, gratitude flows naturally. Prayers whispered over shared plates. Thanksgiving for the fast survived, for the feast provided, for the family gathered. The contrast heightens appreciation. Simple water tastes like wine. Plain injera feels like luxury. Even the air seems sweeter, filled with contentment. The spiritual significance isn't lost. This meal represents more than nutrition. It's communion, connection, a divine gift unwrapped slowly, savored completely, shared generously. each bite an acknowledgement that blessings multiplied when divided, abundance found in gratitude. The preparation itself was prayer, hours spent grinding spices by hand, stirring pots with wooden spoons worn smooth by generations, women moving in practiced rhythms, passing down techniques that have fed families for centuries. The kitchen became sacred space, filled with intention, with anticipation, with love made tangible through labor. Each stir of the pot, each adjustment of seasoning, each taste to test readiness, all acts of devotion, all offerings to family, all expressions of gratitude for survival, for togetherness, for tradition preserved. Around the communal plate, generations merge. Elders share stories between bites, their weathered hands demonstrating proper eating techniques. Children listen wide eyed, learning more than manners, absorbing history, culture, identity. Middle generations serve as bridges, translating ancient wisdom into modern understanding, preserving traditions while adapting to contemporary life. The feast becomes classroom, cultural transmission happening naturally, organically, through shared experience, through common nourishment, through the simple act of eating together, breaking fast, breaking isolation, breaking the barrier between spiritual and physical hunger. Conversation flows like tetai, the honey wine that accompanies celebration. Stories emerge, memories shared, dreams discussed. The fasting period brought introspection, but the feast brings connection. Community emerges from solitude, laughter from contemplation. The table becomes altar, where human fellowship meets divine gratitude, where individual sacrifice transforms into collective joy. Children hear tales of previous Jenna celebrations, learning their place in an unbroken chain, understanding that they too will someday share these stories, pass down these traditions, continue this sacred cycle of fasting and feasting. The sensory explosion is overwhelming. After weeks of restraint, Berber spice creates gentle heat that builds slowly, warming from within. Berber spice creates gentle heat that builds slowly, warming from within. The sourness of injera contrasts beautifully with rich stews. Textures play across the palate, smooth sauces, chewy bread, tender vegetables. The nose fills with cardamom and coffee, cinnamon and cloves. Incense from earlier prayers still lingers, creating layers of aroma, sacred and secular intertwining. This is what celebration smells like, tastes like, feels like, when every sense participates in gratitude. Food becomes medicine, healing the body and spirit. After weeks of deprivation, the system awakens slowly, carefully, gratefully. Each nutrient absorbed feels like blessing received. Energy returns gradually, strength rebuilds, but more than physical restoration occurs. Emotional healing happens, social bonds strengthen, spiritual connections deepen. The meal repairs more than hunger. It mends the temporary separation between earthly pleasure and divine devotion, showing they need not oppose each other, but can dance together in beautiful harmony, sacred and satisfying simultaneously. Ancient traditions speak through modern hands, recipes passed down without written instruction, knowledge transferred through touch, through taste, through repetition, the same spice combinations their ancestors used, the same cooking methods, the same communal sharing. Time collapses around the dinner mat, connecting this moment to countless others, this family to countless others, this celebration to celebrations stretching back through generations. The feast becomes pilgrimage, not through space, but through time, traveling backwards and forwards simultaneously, anchoring present joy in ancient wisdom, eternal tradition in temporary moment. Slowly, contentment settles over the gathering, bellies full for the first time in weeks, hearts full from fellowship, spirits full from successful devotion. The urgent hunger of fasting transforms into peaceful satisfaction. Conversations soften, movements slow. The frantic energy of anticipation gives way to deep calm. Children curl against parents. Elders lean back with sighs of completion. The feast has achieved its purpose, not just feeding bodies, but feeding souls, not just ending deprivation, but beginning celebration, not just satisfying appetite, but sanctifying community through shared abundance. As evening settles, the feast naturally winds down, but its effects will linger. Dishes are cleared with care, leftover food shared with neighbors, with those who have less. The generosity extends beyond family, beyond immediate circle. This is community care in action, abundance shared, blessings multiplied. The physical feast ends, but the spiritual feast continues in memory, in gratitude, in renewed connection, in strengthened bonds, in the quiet satisfaction of tradition honored, of fast completed, of faith rewarded, of family fed, of community renewed through sacred sharing. Sharing. The chapter closes with gentle contentment. Families sit in comfortable silence, the kind that comes after needs are met, after souls are fed, after traditions are honored. The holiday season stretches ahead, no longer a distant hope, but a present reality. The fast is broken, the feast consumed, the community renewed. Tomorrow will bring new celebrations, new gatherings, new opportunities for joy. But tonight, in this moment, all is well, all is complete, all is exactly as it should be. The peaceful satisfaction sets the perfect tone for the holy season ahead. Chapter 9, Ganna Games, Echoes of a Storied Past. As the morning prayers fade into gentle whispers, another dimension of Ganna awakens. Beyond the quiet reverence of church walls, beyond the solemn beauty of fasting and reflection, lies something wonderfully alive. The sound of young voices, the rhythmic tapping of wooden sticks, the soft thunder of bare feet against ancient earth. Here, in this sacred game, tradition takes on the form of pure joy and boundless energy. Young boys gather in the early light, their eyes bright with anticipation. Each carries a curved stick, polished smooth by countless hands before theirs. These simple pieces of wood hold stories, stories of fathers and grandfathers, of victories celebrated and defeats gracefully accepted. The boys form loose circles, their laughter mixing with the morning breeze. Today they will play Ganna, a game as old as the festival itself, where every strike carries the weight of heritage. The wooden sticks gleam in the soft sunlight, each one carved with loving care. Some show the wear of seasons past, others are freshly made, gifts from elders who remember their own days in the game. The boys test their grips, feeling the familiar weight, the perfect balance. These are not mere toys, but instruments of cultural expression, tools that connect the present moment to countless generations who played this very same game beneath these very same skies. Energy ripples through the gathering crowd, children and adults alike, drawn by the magnetic pull of tradition. The excitement is infectious, spreading from face to face like sunrise across the mountains. Mothers pause in their morning tasks, fathers set down their tools, grandparents find comfortable spots in the shade. Everyone knows what comes next, the beautiful chaos of the game, where skill meets chance and joy becomes the only rule that truly matters. With a shout that echoes across the field, the game begins. The small leather ball flies through the air, and suddenly the peaceful morning transforms into controlled pandemonium. Sticks clash against sticks, feet dance across the dusty ground, voices rise in triumph and encouragement. Yet beneath the apparent chaos lies centuries of tradition, patterns of play passed down through generations, each movement a verse in an ancient poem written in motion and time. This is more than sport, more than simple recreation. In every swing of the wooden sticks, in every strategic move across the field, lives the soul of Ethiopian culture. The game teaches cooperation, respect for opponents, the grace of victory, and dignity of defeat. Young players learn not just to compete, but to honor the sacred space of play, to understand that in this game, as in life, how you play matters far more than whether you win. The heritage runs deep in every gesture, every calculated strike of stick against ball. Grandfathers nod knowingly as they watch their grandsons discover the same thrills they once knew. The game connects generations in an unbroken chain, each player adding their own chapter to a story that spans centuries. In this moment, past and present merge, and the ancient rhythms of Ethiopian life continue their eternal dance, unchanged by the passage of years. Bodies move with natural grace, honed by years of practice and play. The clashing of wooden sticks creates a percussion, a rhythm that speaks to something primal and pure. Dust rises in small clouds, catching the light like scattered gold. The boys leap and dodge, their movements fluid as water, powerful as wind. Each motion tells a story, each collision of stick and ball writes another line in the endless tale of Ganna tradition. The community gathers closer, drawn by the magnetic energy of the game. Children too young to play watch with wide eyes, learning the patterns, absorbing the rules both spoken and unspoken. Elders share stories of their own playing days, their voices soft with nostalgia. This is how culture lives, not in museums or books, but in the living moment, in the shared experience of joy and tradition, passed from heart to heart through the simple act of play. Joy radiates from every face, every voice raised in excitement. The game transforms the ordinary field into something sacred, a temple where celebration and tradition merge into one beautiful expression. Laughter mingles with shouts of encouragement, creating a symphony that speaks to the deepest parts of the human heart. This is Ganna at its most alive, most vibrant, where the spiritual and physical aspects of the festival dance together in perfect harmony. The connection to the season runs deeper than simple timing. Just as Ghana celebrates rebirth and renewal, so too does this ancient game represent the eternal cycle of tradition, renewed in each generation. The boys playing today will someday teach their own children, passing on not just the rules, but the deeper understanding that some things transcend time, that joy and community and cultural pride are gifts meant to be shared and preserved forever. In the spiritual heart of this physical game lies a deeper meaning, a connection to the divine expressed through human movement and joy. The game becomes a form of prayer, a celebration of the gifts of community and tradition. Each strike of the stick, each shout of triumph, each moment of shared laughter adds to the sacred atmosphere of the season, proving that worship takes many forms, and that joy itself can be a pathway to the divine. As the afternoon light begins to soften, the game continues with undiminished passion. The sun moves slowly across the sky, casting longer shadows, painting the field in warmer tones. Yet the energy remains high, the excitement undimmed. Time seems suspended in this perfect moment, where tradition and joy converge, where the ancient rhythms of Ethiopian culture pulse strong and true, connecting earth to sky, past to present, heart to heart. The crowd watches with deep satisfaction, their hearts full of pride and contentment. This is what they came to see, not just a game, but the living expression of their heritage. Faces glow with happiness, eyes shine with the reflected joy of the players. The community has come together, united in celebration, bound by shared tradition and love. The satisfaction is palpable, a collective contentment that speaks to the deepest needs of the human spirit. The sunset approaches slowly, painting the sky in gentle shades of gold and rose. The light grows softer, more forgiving, casting everything in a dreamlike glow. Yet still the game continues, the players reluctant to let this perfect day end. The wooden sticks catch the fading light, the dust sparkles in the amber air, and the voices of the players blend with the evening breeze in a song as old as Ethiopia itself. Finally, as the first stars appear, the game draws to its natural close. The roar of the crowd fades to satisfied murmurs, then to peaceful silence. Players embrace, their differences forgotten in the shared joy of the day. The wooden sticks are carefully stored away, waiting for another day, another celebration. The field empties slowly, but the memories remain, another chapter written in the endless story of Ganna, echoing softly into the gathering dusk. Chapter 10, Yagena Chiwada, A Game of Kings. As the gentle morning light filters through ancient Ethiopian villages, a different kind of celebration begins to unfold. Beyond the prayers and feasting, beyond the white robes and burning incense, there exists a tradition that transforms ordinary earth into a battlefield of kings. This is Yagena Chiwada, a game where strategy meets spirituality, where community gathers around crackling turf, and where the echoes of ancient wars play out in peaceful competition. The origins of this remarkable game stretch back through centuries of Ethiopian history, woven into the very fabric of Jena celebrations. Picture the royal courts of ancient Abyssinia, where emperors and nobles would gather during the Christmas season, not just for worship, but for intellectual combat. This was more than mere entertainment. It was a display of wisdom, of strategic thinking, a way for rulers to demonstrate their divine right to lead through mental prowess rather than brute force. The game carries within it the sacred story of Christ's birth, but told through the lens of cosmic warfare. Each move represents the eternal struggle between light and darkness, between the wise magi who sought the newborn king and the jealous Herod who would destroy him. As players position their pieces on the earthen board, they reenact this divine drama, their strategies echoing the celestial battle that unfolded over Bethlehem so many centuries ago. Listen closely, and you can almost hear the preparation beginning in village squares across Ethiopia. The ground is carefully prepared, earth smoothed and marked with ancient patterns. Turf is gathered, dried grass and small branches arranged just so, creating a board that exists somewhere between the physical and spiritual realms. This is not chess, not checkers, but something uniquely Ethiopian, something that transforms the very ground beneath their feet into a sacred space of competition. The players arrive as dusk settles over the village, their white Jenna robes rustling softly in the evening breeze. These are not casual participants, but individuals chosen for their wisdom, their patience, their ability to see beyond the obvious move to the deeper strategy beneath. They settle cross-legged on either side of the earthen board, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of small fires, their eyes already calculating the battles to come. Around them, the community begins to gather. Children press close to their grandparents. Young men and women find comfortable spots on woven mats. elders claim places of honor near the playing field. This is more than a game, it's a social institution, a moment when the entire village comes together to witness wisdom in action. Gentle murmurs of anticipation ripple through the crowd as the first moves are contemplated, discussed, and finally made. The rules of Yegana Chiwada have been passed down through oral tradition, each village adding its own subtle variations, its own interpretations of ancient strategies. Small stones serve as pieces, each one representing different ranks in the cosmic army, different aspects of the spiritual battle between good and evil. The movements are deliberate, almost ritualistic, each player taking time to consider not just the immediate consequences, but the deeper symbolic meaning of their choices. Watch as the first player lifts a stone, holds it thoughtfully in weathered fingers, considers the implications of placement. This is strategy at its purest, unencumbered by time limits or external pressure. The only sound is the gentle crackling of turf fires, the soft whispers of spectators, the occasional sigh of concentration from the players themselves. Every move tells a story, every strategy reflects a philosophy, every game becomes a meditation on wisdom and patience. The crowd watches with the kind of reverent attention usually reserved for religious ceremony. Children learn by observation, absorbing not just the rules of the game, but the deeper lessons of patience, of thinking before acting, of respecting one's opponent, even in competition. Grandmothers nod approvingly at particularly clever moves, while grandfathers stroke their beards and remember games from their own youth, when they too sat on the sacred earth and battled with wisdom rather than swords. As the game progresses, the atmosphere becomes almost hypnotic. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across concentrated faces, creating an otherworldly ambience where past and present seem to merge. You can almost feel the presence of ancient kings, of wise counselors, of all the generations who have gathered around similar boards, playing the same eternal game, working through the same timeless strategies that connect earth to heaven. There's something deeply spiritual about this gentle competition, something that transforms a simple game into a form of prayer. Each move becomes an offering, each strategy a meditation on the divine plan that unfolds through human choice and consequence. The players are not just moving stones, and they're participating in a ritual that connects them to their ancestors, to their faith, to the eternal story of light overcoming darkness. This is how traditions survive, not through museums or textbooks, but through moments like these, when wisdom passes naturally from one generation to the next. A grandfather explains a particularly subtle strategy to his grandson. A young woman watches her mother navigate a complex position. An elder shares the historical significance of a traditional opening move. Knowledge flows like water, finding its natural level, ensuring that ancient wisdom will continue long after tonight's games have ended. The beauty lies not in winning or losing, but in the quality of thought, the elegance of strategy, the respect shown between opponents. When a game finally concludes, both players bow slightly, acknowledging each other's wisdom, honoring the divine spark that guided their thinking. The stones are carefully collected, the earthen board smoothed for the next pair, the cycle of wisdom and competition ready to begin again with fresh participants. Victory celebrations are quiet, dignified, marked more by nods of approval than boisterous cheering. The winner accepts congratulations with humility, understanding that success came not just from personal skill, but from participating in something larger than themselves, something that connects them to centuries of Ethiopian wisdom and tradition. The community celebrates not just the victor, but the continuation of their cultural heritage, the preservation of their ancestral knowledge. As the evening winds down, as the last games conclude and the turf fires burn low, there's a sense of completion, of another successful preservation of tradition. The stones are returned to their pouches, the earthen boards will be smoothed by morning rain, but the wisdom shared tonight, the connections forged, the cultural knowledge transmitted, these will endure. This is how a people maintain their identity, through gentle moments of shared meaning. The Yagana Chuwata Games have concluded, but Ched continues, and with it, the promise of more traditions to unfold, more stories to tell, more moments when past and present converge in beautiful harmony. As the community disperses into the gentle Ethiopian night, there's a quiet anticipation, a knowing that tomorrow will bring new celebrations, new opportunities to honor their heritage, new ways to experience the profound joy of cultural continuity during this most sacred season. Chapter 11, in Melodies and Hymns, as dawn breaks over Ethiopian highlands, something sacred fills the air. Ancient melodies, passed down through countless generations, begin to weave their spell. These are the hymns of Ganna, songs that carry the very soul of celebration within their notes. In churches across the land, voices join together, creating harmonies that seem to bridge heaven and earth. The music itself becomes prayer, becomes reverence, becomes pure devotion flowing through time. The origins of these sacred songs stretch back to the earliest days of Ethiopian Christianity. Monks in ancient monasteries spent lifetimes perfecting each melody, each word, each pause. They understood that music could touch hearts in ways that spoken words alone could never reach. These hymns weren't simply composed, they were divinely inspired, channeled through devoted souls who saw their purpose as preserving the sacred. Each note carries centuries of faith, centuries of hope, centuries of unwavering devotion. The language of these hymns flows like honey, ancient Gaia's words rolling off tongues with practiced ease. Even those who don't understand every word feel the power within the sounds. The melodies rise and fall like gentle waves upon a peaceful shore. Syllables stretch and bend, creating space for contemplation, space for the soul to breathe. In this musical tapestry, every thread has meaning, every pause holds purpose, every note carries the weight of generations. Within the stone walls of ancient churches, these hymns take on special resonance. The architecture itself seems designed to amplify every sacred sound. Voices echo off high ceilings, creating layers of harmony that seem almost supernatural. Candle flames dance, as if moved by the music itself. The air grows thick with reverence, thick with centuries of prayer, thick with the collective breath of countless believers who have stood in these same spaces, singing these same songs. Among the voices, individual singers emerge, each bringing their own gifts to the collective prayer. There's Father Tekle, whose deep bass voice seems to shake the very foundations. His decades of devotion pour through every note he sings. Beside him, young Marin adds her crystalline soprano, weaving delicate patterns above the foundational harmonies. Each singer, regardless of age or experience, contributes something unique, something irreplaceable to the sacred whole. Their voices blend, yet remain distinct, like instruments in a divine orchestra. The emotional power of these hymns cannot be overstated. Grown men weep openly as familiar melodies wash over them. Children stand transfixed, even those too young to understand the words, sensing something profound in the music. These songs carry the weight of history, the joy of celebration, the comfort of tradition. They connect each person to something larger than themselves, to a community of faith that spans centuries, spans continents, spans the very divide between earth and heaven. As the main service concludes, the hymns don't end, they simply transform, moving from the formal structure of liturgy to the more intimate expressions of personal devotion. Small groups gather, continuing the melodies in softer tones. The music becomes more conversational, more personal, yet no less sacred. Friends lean close together, sharing favorite verses, teaching younger members the traditional ornamentations that make each song unique. The hymns become bridges, connecting hearts, connecting generations, connecting the formal and the familiar. Beyond the church walls, these sacred melodies find new life. In the quiet corners of family homes, mothers hum ancient refrains while preparing traditional meals. The kitchen becomes a sanctuary, the cooking becomes ceremony, the humming becomes prayer. Children absorb these melodies, almost without realizing it, the way they might breathe in the scent of incense or frankincense. The hymns weave themselves into daily life, becoming part of the very fabric of existence, part of what it means to be Ethiopian, part of what it means to celebrate Ganna. In the evening hours, as families gather around simple meals, the hymns take on gentler forms. Voices drop to whispers, creating intimate concerts within each home. Grandmothers teach grandchildren the subtle differences between one melody and another. The songs become lullabies, become comfort, become the soundtrack to quiet family moments. Even the youngest children begin to mouth familiar words, their small voices adding to the gentle chorus that fills Ethiopian homes during this sacred season. Music becomes memory, becomes inheritance, becomes love passed down through generations. The power of these hymns lies partly in their ability to unite diverse communities. Across Ethiopia, regardless of region or dialect, the same melodies rise into the night air. A farmer in the highlands sings the same ancient words as a merchant in the bustling city. The hymns create invisible threads connecting every celebrating soul, creating a tapestry of faith that spans the entire nation. In this musical unity, differences dissolve, divisions disappear, and all that remains is the shared joy of Ganna, the shared reverence for the sacred, the shared humanity that music so powerfully reveals. As midnight approaches, the hymns shift once again. The tempo slows, the voices soften, the mood becomes increasingly contemplative. This is the music of reflection, of gratitude, of quiet wonder at the mystery of faith. Singers close their eyes, letting the familiar melodies carry them deeper into meditation, into communion with the divine. The boundaries between singer and song, between prayer and music, between individual and community, begin to dissolve. All that remains is pure expression, pure devotion, pure love, flowing through ancient channels of sound and silence. In these quiet moments, the true magic of the hymns reveals itself. They are more than entertainment, more than cultural tradition, more than historical artifact. They are living prayers, breathing expressions of faith, active connections between the human and the divine. Each note carries intention, each word carries power, each silence carries meaning. The hymns transform both singer and listener, creating sacred space wherever they're sung, turning ordinary moments into encounters with the transcendent. Through music, the celebration of Ganna becomes something beyond mere observance, becomes true worship, becomes genuine encounter with the sacred. The beauty of these ancient hymns lies also in their simplicity. No complex instruments required, no elaborate arrangements needed, just human voices raised in harmony, raised in hope, raised in celebration. This accessibility means the hymns belong to everyone equally, the wealthy merchant and the humble farmer, the learned priest and the simple believer, all participate as equals, all contribute as valued members of this great musical congregation. The hymns democratize devotion, making the sacred available to anyone willing to open their voice, to anyone willing to open their heart. As the hours pass and voices begin to tire, the hymns gradually soften, like candlelight slowly dimming. The melodies don't end abruptly, they fade gently, naturally, the way dawn slowly gives way to day. Singers pause longer between verses, savoring each phrase, each moment of connection. The music becomes more spacious, more contemplative, more like meditation than performance. In these dying moments, the hymns reveal their deepest gift, the ability to create perfect peace, perfect stillness, perfect presence in the midst of celebration. The final hymns of the evening carry special significance. These are the songs of gratitude, of benediction, of gentle farewell to the sacred hours. Voices unite one last time in melodies that seem to gather all the joy, all the reverence, all the hope of the celebration, and offer it upward, like incense rising, like prayers ascending, like love returning to its source. The last notes hang in the air, precious and fragile, before slowly fading into the peaceful silence that follows, into the gentle transition toward rest, toward dreams, toward the quiet contentment that follows sacred celebration. And so the melodies and hymns of Ghana find their gentle conclusion like a river flowing peacefully toward the sea. The voices that filled the night now rest in satisfied silence, hearts full, souls nourished, spirits renewed by the power of sacred song. The ancient hymns have done their work, connecting past to present, connecting individual to community, connecting earth to heaven. As we prepare to close this chapter of our Ethiopian Christmas journey, the echo of those beautiful voices still whispers in our hearts, still carries us forward into the final moments of this sacred story, into the peaceful conclusion of our time together in the land of Ghana. Chapter 12, Ember Nights. As the sacred days of Ghana slowly draw toward their close, the most treasured moments unfold in the gentle glow of dying embers. These are the quiet evening hours when families gather close around flickering flames, sharing stories that have been passed down through countless generations. The air grows thick with the sweet scent of frankincense, and time seems to slow, allowing each precious memory to settle deep into your heart. In humble homes across Ethiopia, incense burners cast dancing shadows against mud-plastered walls. The crackling of charcoal mingles with soft, whispered voices, creating a symphony of warmth and belonging. Children lean against their grandparents, eyes heavy with contentment, as ancient tales weave through the fragrant smoke. These are the moments that define the true spirit of Ghana, where love transcends material gifts and connection becomes the greatest treasure of all. The embers pulse with a gentle orange glow, each spark carrying the essence of countless celebrations before. Mothers adjust their white cotton shawls, settling deeper into the circle of light, while fathers speak in hushed tones about traditions their own fathers taught them. The frankincense spirals upward, carrying prayers and gratitude toward the heavens, as the weight of cultural heritage settles comfortably around the gathered family like a treasured blanket. In these sacred ember nights, time moves differently. Each story unfolds like a gentle river, meandering through memories of Ganna's past, carrying wisdom from generation to generation. The soft shadows shift and dance, creating an intimate theater where every face glows with pride and belonging. Children absorb these moments, storing them deep in their hearts, knowing that someday they too will sit by similar fires, sharing these same precious stories with their own families. The aromatic smoke carries more than fragrance, it holds the essence of devotion, of countless prayers offered in gratitude for blessings received. Elderly voices share tales of resilience, of communities coming together during difficult times, of faith that sustained families through generations of change. The dying embers seem to listen, pulsing gently in rhythm with each spoken word, as if acknowledging the sacred nature of these shared memories and cultural bonds. As the fire settles lower, conversations grow softer, more intimate. Hands reach across the circle to touch shoulders, to squeeze fingers, expressing love that words alone cannot capture. The warmth radiates not just from the glowing coals, but from the hearts gathered around them. This is where Ghana lives most fully, not in grand ceremonies, but in these quiet moments where souls connect, where heritage flows like honey from one heart to another. The mud plastered walls seem to absorb these precious moments, holding them like ancient repositories of family history. Every shadow tells a story, every flicker of light illuminates another memory worth cherishing. Young faces reflect the orange glow, their expressions peaceful and content, as they witness the beautiful ritual of storytelling that has shaped their culture for centuries. In these ember nights, the past and present merge into one sacred experience. The incense burns slowly, releasing its sweet perfume in gentle waves that wrap around the gathered family like an embrace. Each breath carries the essence of tradition, of rituals performed with reverence and joy. The crackling of the dying fire provides a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat that connects all present to the eternal cycle of celebration and remembrance. These are the moments that make Ghana truly alive, intimate, personal, and profoundly meaningful. As hours pass in this gentle gathering, the stories grow more personal, more tender. Grandmothers share memories of their first Ganna celebrations, their voices soft with nostalgia and love. The embers continue their slow dance, casting a warm glow over faces lined with wisdom and experience. Children listen with wide eyes, understanding instinctively that they are witnessing something sacred, something that will stay with them long after the last ember has turned to ash. The frankincense creates a bridge between earth and heaven, its spiraling smoke carrying the prayers and gratitude of gathered hearts. In this sacred space, surrounded by the gentle warmth of dying embers, families find themselves connected not just to each other, but to every generation that has celebrated Ganna before them. The traditions feel alive, breathing, pulsing with the heartbeat of a culture that values connection, community, and the sacred bonds that unite all souls. The soft shadows move like gentle spirits, blessing this intimate gathering with their presence. Each flicker of the dying fire illuminates another face, another expression of contentment and belonging. The stories continue to flow, weaving through the fragrant air like invisible threads that bind the family closer together. In these precious ember nights, love takes on new dimensions, deeper, warmer, more profound than any material expression could ever capture or contain. As the night deepens, the embers grow dimmer, but the warmth they have created continues to fill every heart present. The incense burns lower, its final wisps carrying the last prayers of the evening toward the stars. Yet even as this beautiful moment draws toward its close, there is no sadness, only gratitude for the gift of connection, for the privilege of sharing in something so ancient, so beautiful, so fundamentally human and divine. In the gentle glow of these final embers, conversation turns toward the future, toward the next celebration that awaits. Timcat, the festival of Epiphany, begins to stir in the collective consciousness like the first light of dawn. The anticipation is quiet, reverent, filled with the same spirit of devotion that has made Ganna so meaningful. These ember nights serve as a bridge connecting one sacred season to another, ensuring that the cycle of celebration continues unbroken. The dying fire seems to whisper of renewal, of new beginnings that await just beyond the horizon. Though Ganna draws to its close, the spirit it has kindled continues to burn bright in every heart gathered around these sacred embers. The anticipation for Timcat grows, not with impatience, but with the quiet confidence of a people who know that each season brings its own gifts, its own opportunities for connection, celebration, and spiritual growth. As the last flames flicker and fade, the frankincense releases its final fragrant breath into the night air. The mud-plastered walls have absorbed countless stories, countless prayers, countless moments of pure love and connection. Soon, very soon, these same walls will witness the preparation for Timcat, another chapter in the endless cycle of Ethiopian Orthodox celebration. The embers may die, but the fire of faith and tradition burns eternal in every heart. The ember nights of Ghana fade into peaceful memory, leaving behind a legacy of warmth, of stories well told, of bonds strengthened by shared tradition. As families finally rise from their circles of light, they carry with them the glow of connection, the peace of belonging, and the quiet anticipation of Timcat drawing near. In the darkness that follows, hearts continue to burn bright, sustained by the eternal flame of cultural heritage and unbreakable family love. Chapter 13, A Universe in an Ark. In the ancient highlands of Ethiopia, a sacred mystery has been preserved for over 3,000 years. Deep within the sanctuary of Axum's St. Mary of Zion rests what believers hold as the most precious relic in all of creation, the original Ark of the Covenant. Tonight, we journey into this profound faith where heaven touches earth in the most unexpected places and discover how this ancient vessel continues to shape one of Christianity's most beautiful traditions. Close your eyes and imagine walking through the cobbled streets of Axum. The air is thick with frankincense and centuries of prayer. Ethiopian Orthodox believers have guarded this sacred secret with unwavering devotion, passing down the responsibility from generation to generation. They believe that when Queen Sheba visited King Solomon, she brought back more than wisdom and gold. She carried with her the very presence of the divine, wrapped in acacia wood and overlaid with pure gold. The Ark, according to Ethiopian tradition, contains the original stone tablets given to Moses on Mount Sinai, but it represents something far greater than ancient law. It embodies the living presence of God among his people. Only one guardian, known as the Keeper of the Ark, is permitted to approach this holy relic. He spends his entire life in service, never leaving the sacred grounds, protecting what believers consider the heart of their faith, the beating pulse of divine presence. Every Ethiopian Orthodox church, from the grandest cathedral to the humblest village chapel, contains its own replica of the Ark, called a tabot. These sacred tablets, handcrafted with meticulous care, connect every congregation to the original relic in Axum. During religious ceremonies, These tabots are treated with the same reverence as the original, carried with silk cloth, approached only by ordained priests, creating a network of divine presence across the entire nation, binding communities together in shared faith. As dusk settles over the Ethiopian highlands, the connection between the Ark and the approaching festival of Timkat begins to unfold. For this is no ordinary religious celebration. It is the moment when the sacred tablets, those precious replicas, leave their resting places in the Holy of Holies and journey into the world. Much like the original ark once traveled with the Israelites through the wilderness, these sacred vessels embark on their own pilgrimage, carried by devoted priests to nearby bodies of water. The procession begins, wrapped in ornate brocades of gold and crimson. Each tabot is lifted with trembling reverence. The priests, dressed in their finest liturgical robes, walk barefoot through the streets. Their voices rise in ancient Gies chants, echoing off stone walls and climbing toward the stars. Behind them, thousands of faithful followers join the sacred parade, carrying candles that flicker like earthbound constellations, their faces glowing with quiet devotion, hearts beating in rhythm with centuries of tradition. The journey to water, this sacred pilgrimage, mirrors the Israelites' 40 years in the desert. But where the ancient people sought the promised land, the Ethiopian faithful seek spiritual renewal. The tablets, these vessels of divine presence, transform ordinary rivers and lakes into Jordan, where Jesus himself was baptized. The water becomes holy, not through human blessing alone, but through the presence of these sacred arks, carrying within them the very essence of God's covenant with humanity. Throughout the night, the faithful keep vigil. Families spread blankets on the ground, sharing simple meals of bread and honey wine. Children sleep peacefully in their parents' arms, while adults maintain their watchful prayer. The tablets rest in colorful pavilions, guarded by priests who chant continuously, their voices weaving together ancient melodies that have echoed across these highlands for over 1,500 years, creating an invisible tapestry of faith that connects earth to heaven. As dawn approaches, the sacred drama reaches its crescendo. The tablets are carefully carried to the water's edge, where they will bless the liquid that will soon touch thousands of faithful souls. This moment, when ark meets water, represents the intersection of the divine and the earthly. The priests wade into the river, holding high these precious vessels, while the faithful prepare to follow, to immerse themselves in waters sanctified by the presence of God's covenant, renewed and reborn. The blessing of the water, this transformation from ordinary to sacred, reflects the Ethiopian understanding of God's presence in the physical world. Unlike some traditions that separate the spiritual from the material, Ethiopian orthodoxy sees the divine dwelling among earthly things. The Ark of the Covenant, whether the original in Axum or its replicas in every church, serves as a bridge between heaven and earth, a reminder that God chooses to inhabit the humble vessels of human faith. In the growing light of dawn, families prepare for the moment of baptism. Mothers wrap their babies in white cloth, while older children fidget with excitement. Adults remove their shoes, preparing to step into waters that have been touched by the divine. The tablets, still held high by the priests, catch the first rays of sunlight, their coverings shimmering like fragments of rainbow, while thousands of voices join together in praise, creating a symphony that seems to lift the very earth toward heaven. The water itself becomes a character in this sacred story. Transformed by the presence of the tablets, it carries within itself the memory of every blessing, every prayer, every tear of joy and repentance. When the faithful step into these sanctified waters, they connect not only with Christ's baptism in the Jordan, but with 3,000 years of covenant history. They touch the same divine presence that once led the Israelites, that now rests in Axum, that dwells in every Ethiopian Orthodox heart. As the sun climbs higher, the sacred drama begins to wind down, but the transformation is complete. The faithful emerge from the blessed waters, renewed in body and spirit, while the Tabbits, their sacred duty fulfilled, begin their journey back to their respective churches. They travel slowly, ceremoniously, allowing the entire community to walk alongside these vessels of divine presence. Children run beside the procession, their laughter mixing with ancient chants, creating a joyful noise that rises like incense. Back in their sanctuaries, the Tabbits return to their places of honor, wrapped once again in precious cloths, resting in the Holy of Holies until the next sacred season calls them forth. But their brief journey into the world has changed everything. The community has been renewed, relationships restored, faith rekindled. The Ark of the Covenant, in all its forms, has once again proven that God's presence cannot be contained, but must be shared, experienced, lived. In the quiet aftermath, as families return to their homes, the profound meaning of this ancient faith settles like gentle mist over the highlands. The Ark of the Covenant, whether resting in Axum's sanctuary or carried in festival procession, represents more than religious artifact. It embodies the belief that the divine chooses to dwell among ordinary people in ordinary places, transforming the everyday into the sacred, the human into the holy, the temporal into the eternal. As twilight embraces the Ethiopian landscape, the faithful carry within their hearts the memory of divine encounter. They have touched the sacred, walked alongside the ark, been renewed in blessed waters. Tomorrow they will return to daily life, but they carry with them the certainty that God's presence dwells among them in every church, in every tabbat, in every act of faith. The covenant continues, unbroken, eternal, a universe of divine love, contained within humble vessels of human devotion. Chapter 14, Echoes of the Jordan River, Timkat. As the final echoes of Ganna fade into memory, another sacred celebration emerges on Ethiopia's spiritual horizon. The air grows thick with anticipation as communities prepare for Timkat, the Orthodox celebration of Jesus' baptism. Ancient traditions stir to life, processions form, and the faithful gather once more. This is where water becomes sacred, where rivers transform into pathways to the divine, where thousands will wade into blessed currents, seeking renewal. The preparation begins at dawn, as priests carefully lift the tablet from its resting place within the church sanctuary. This sacred replica of the Ark of the Covenant, wrapped in ornate brocades and silken coverings, represents the very presence of the divine among the people. Hands trembling with reverence, the clergy cradle this most precious artifact. The morning light catches the golden threads, casting ethereal shadows across weathered stone walls, as centuries of devotion seem to whisper through the hallowed space. Slowly, the procession begins to form outside the ancient church doors. Dressed in pristine white cotton, the faithful gather in respectful silence. Children clutch their parents' hands. Elders lean on walking sticks, worn smooth by countless journeys. And young adults stand with eyes closed in prayer. The tabot moves forward, carried on the shoulders of chosen priests, while the community follows in a river of white garments. This pilgrimage has been made for over 1,000 years, each footstep connecting past to present. The procession winds through narrow streets, past homes where families have prepared for months. Incense drifts from doorways, mixing with the morning mist that clings to rooftops. Voices join in ancient hymns, the melodies passed down through generations of believers. The rhythm of bare feet on cobblestone creates a meditation all its own, while the weight of the tabot shifts gently among the priests. Every turn reveals another glimpse of faith in motion, a community united in spiritual purpose, moving toward the sacred waters. At the riverbank, temporary shelters have been constructed overnight. Colorful fabrics flutter in the gentle breeze, creating sacred spaces where the tablet will rest. The chosen water source, whether river, lake, or specially blessed pool, holds deep significance. Here, the faithful believe, the spirit of the Jordan River itself resides. Priests chant prayers of consecration, their voices carrying across the still water. The surface reflects not just faces, but the accumulated faith of countless souls seeking spiritual cleansing and renewal. As the sun climbs higher, the blessing of the waters begins. Ancient Coptic prayers flow like liquid poetry, sanctifying every drop that will soon touch eager skin. The priest extends his cross into the depths, drawing invisible patterns that connect earth to heaven. Observers hold their breath, sensing the exact moment when ordinary water becomes extraordinary. The transformation is invisible yet profound, felt in the heart rather than seen with eyes, as divine presence settles over the gathered multitude like morning dew. The symbolism runs deeper than the river itself. In these sacred moments, the faithful connect directly with the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan. 2,000 years collapse into nothing as ancient Jerusalem and modern Ethiopia merge in spiritual unity. The same waters that bless the Savior now flow through these Ethiopian streams, carrying the same transformative power. Each person standing on the bank becomes part of this eternal narrative, witness to a divine moment that transcends time, culture, and geography, uniting all believers in sacred memory. Then comes the moment everyone has been waiting for. The mass baptism begins. Hundreds of white-clad figures wade slowly into the blessed waters, their movements creating gentle ripples that catch the sunlight. Fathers carry infants on their shoulders, mothers guide hesitant children, grandparents lean on family members for support. The water is cold, shocking the skin, yet warming the soul. Laughter mingles with prayers. Joy bubbles up from depths deeper than the river as spiritual rebirth unfolds in countless individual moments. Some participants submerge themselves completely, allowing the sacred waters to cover every inch of their being. Others splash the blessed liquid on faces, arms, and hearts, depending on their comfort with the depth. Children squeal with delight at the unexpected coolness, while elders close their eyes in profound meditation. The river becomes a cathedral without walls, where denominations dissolve and only faith remains. Priests move through the crowd, offering blessings and guidance, their presence a bridge between the human and the divine. The baptismal waters carry away more than physical impurities, old grievances, lingering doubts, accumulated sorrows, all wash downstream in the gentle current. Faces emerge from the river transformed, not by magic, but by the power of intentional renewal. Eyes shine with renewed hope, smiles spread spontaneously, and hands reach out to help strangers navigate the slippery riverbed. In these precious moments, social barriers dissolve, economic differences disappear, and only shared humanity remains, united in the pursuit of spiritual cleansing. Around the water's edge, family groups create their own intimate ceremonies. Grandmothers pour blessed water over grandchildren's heads, speaking prayers in whispered Amharic. Young couples hold hands as they step deeper, their union blessed by participation in this ancient ritual. Single believers find themselves surrounded by instant community, strangers becoming brothers and sisters through shared experience. The river democratizes devotion, making saints of simple people and transforming individual faith into collective celebration of the divine presence among them. As afternoon approaches, the sacred atmosphere grows even more profound. The sun's angle creates dancing patterns of light across the water's surface, while gentle breezes carry the sound of hymns to distant hillsides. Wet clothing clings to bodies emerging from baptism, but faces radiate inner warmth that defies the cool air. Volunteers distribute towels and dry garments, practical acts of service that embody the love being celebrated. Community kitchens send aromatic reminders of the feast that will follow, grounding spiritual experience in earthly fellowship. The riverbank becomes a temporary village of faith, where strangers share food, stories, and spontaneous prayers. Children chase each other through shallow waters, their laughter punctuating the solemnity with pure joy. Elderly believers sit on stones, worn smooth by countless Timcat celebrations, their weathered hands gesturing as they share memories of previous years. Young adults document the moment with careful reverence, understanding they're witnessing something sacred that predates any technology, yet remains eternally relevant to the human search for meaning and connection. The religious fervor is palpable yet peaceful, intense yet gentle. No one rushes, no one pushes, no one demands attention for themselves. Instead, a profound sense of collective purpose unites thousands of individual hearts. The baptismal celebration becomes a living prayer where bodies serve as verses, voices provide the chorus, and the river itself offers the sacred refrain. Social boundaries dissolve in the face of shared spiritual yearning, creating temporary but profound community among people who might otherwise remain strangers to one another. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the formal ceremonies draw to a gentle close. Families gather their belongings, children wrap in warm blankets, and the blessed Tabot begins its careful journey back to the sanctuary. Yet no one hurries to leave. The sacred atmosphere lingers like morning mist, reluctant to dissipate. Conversations continue in hushed tones, new friendships cemented by shared experience, promises made to meet again next year. The river continues its eternal flow, carrying prayers downstream toward distant seas. In the growing twilight, a profound peace settles over the entire gathering. Hearts that arrived heavy with worldly concerns now feel light as river stones. Spirits that entered seeking answers now rest in the comfort of mystery itself. The crowd disperses slowly, reluctantly, carrying within them the echoes of sacred water, blessed community, and renewed faith. As darkness embraces the riverbank, only the gentle sound of flowing water remains, a eternal reminder that some truths are too deep for words, too precious for anything but grateful silence. Chapter 15, Epilogue: Lights, Echoes, and Eternal Rhythms. Here we are at the gentle close of our Ethiopian journey. The threads of Ganna and Timkat weave together like whispered prayers, creating a tapestry of faith and celebration. As the final echoes of ancient hymns fade into memory, we pause to breathe in the profound beauty of these sacred traditions. Let the rhythm of centuries-old customs carry you toward peaceful rest. The stories we've shared, the rituals we've witnessed, they speak to something deeper than seasonal celebration. In the flickering candlelight of Ganna morning, in the blessed waters of Timkat, we discover the eternal dance between the sacred and the everyday. These moments remind us that faith lives not in grand gestures alone, but in the quiet devotion of daily life, breathing softly through each generation. Feel how these celebrations create harmony between the ancient and the present, between individual hearts and the greater community. A child receives their blessing, an elder shares wisdom, a family gathers around injera bread. Each gesture connects to countless others, rippling across time like gentle waves on a sacred lake. The rhythm of tradition carries forward, constant yet ever changing, like the flow of seasons themselves. In the hushed pre dawn hours of Ghana, when faithful souls make their pilgrimage to church, there's a beautiful tension between solitude and togetherness. Each person walks their own path of devotion, yet moves as part of something greater. The individual prayer rises, joining the collective hymn, creating a symphony of souls that transcends any single voice. This is the essence of community, woven through sacred time, tradition and change, two forces that might seem to oppose each other, yet in Ethiopian celebration they dance together gracefully. Ancient Ge'ez chants echo in modern churches. Traditional white cotton shawls are worn by new generations. Timeless rituals adapt to contemporary life. The heart of these celebrations remains unchanged, while their expression flows and evolves like a river that carves new paths while following ancient currents. Picture the dawn light of Ghana morning, golden rays streaming through church windows, illuminating faces lifted in reverence and joy. This gentle radiance carries the warmth of centuries, the same light that blessed the first celebrants, now blessing today's faithful. The sun rises, as it has for countless Ghana mornings, painting the Ethiopian highlands in hues of copper and gold, while prayers rise like incense into the brightening sky. Listen, can you hear the echo of those resounding hymns, voices joined in ancient melodies that have carried through generations? The Ge'ez words may be mysterious to unfamiliar ears, but their meaning transcends language, speaking directly to the soul. These sacred songs create a bridge, connecting earth to heaven, past to present, heart to heart, in harmonies that seem to vibrate through the very stones of ancient churches. And in the quiet moments between the grand processions and communal feasts, there are gentle whispers of private prayers, a mother's blessing over her child, an elder's gratitude for another year, a young person's hopes for the future. These intimate devotions, soft as breath on cool morning air, form the foundation upon which all celebration rests. They remind us that faith lives in whispered moments as much as in joyous song. Take a final deep breath of calm as we rest in the peace these traditions offer. Feel how the rhythm of celebration has slowed your heartbeat, how the warmth of community has eased your spirit. The fasting has given way to feasting, the anticipation to fulfillment, the darkness to light. In this gentle transition, we find the deeper gift of these sacred seasons, the restoration of our souls, the renewal of our hope. Our sensory journey draws to a close, yet the memories linger like sweet incense. The taste of fresh injera, the sound of ancient chants, the sight of blessed water sparkling in sunlight, the touch of gentle hands offering peace, the scent of frankincense rising in prayer. Each sensation has painted its own brushstroke on the canvas of our understanding, creating a masterpiece of cultural beauty that will remain with you always. What have these celebrations taught us beyond their historical significance, beyond their cultural richness? They speak to our deepest need for connection, for meaning, for moments that lift us beyond the ordinary. In Ganna and Timkat, we see how humanity creates sacred space, how we mark time not just with calendars, but with rituals that feed the soul, ceremonies that remind us we are part of something eternal and beautiful. As evening shadows begin to fall across the Ethiopian landscape, the highlands settle into peaceful silence. The acacia trees stand sentinel against the darkening sky, while distant church bells offer their final calls to evening prayer. This is the land that has nurtured these traditions for centuries, its ancient soil blessed by countless pilgrim footsteps, its vast sky witness to generations of faithful celebration, its heart beating with eternal rhythm. Night falls gently, like a soft blanket being drawn over the world. The bustling energy of celebration gives way to quiet reflection. The bright day yields to star-filled darkness. In villages across Ethiopia, families gather in their homes, sharing the final moments of these sacred days. Children drift toward sleep, lulled by the gentle murmur of adult voices, carrying forward the stories they will one day share with their own children. Yet our story doesn't truly end. It simply pauses, like a beautiful melody that lingers in the air after the last note has been played. The celebrations of Ganna and Timkat will return, as they have for centuries, as they will for centuries to come. The cycle continues, the wheel of sacred time keeps turning, and in that continuity we find comfort, knowing that beauty and meaning endure beyond any single moment or season. Somewhere in the distance, in the vast tapestry of Ethiopian culture, other celebrations await discovery. Other stories rest quietly, ready to unfold their magic. The Feast of the Cross, the commemoration of saints, harvest celebrations, each carrying its own gifts of wisdom and wonder. The promise whispers softly through the night air. There are always more stories to tell, more traditions to explore, more beauty to discover in this remarkable land. And so, as hushed night settles completely over the landscape, we close our eyes with hearts full of gratitude. The journey through Ganna has gifted us with more than knowledge. It has offered us peace, connection, and the profound reminder that across all cultures, across all time, humanity creates moments of transcendent beauty. Rest now, let these gentle rhythms carry you into dreams, where celebration and serenity dance together in eternal harmony.